This is a song, Thoroughly Modern. It's from Thoroughly Modern Millie. It's called Not for the Life of Me. I studied all the pictures in magazines and books. I memorized the subway map too. It's 1 block north to Macy's and 2 to Brother Brook, Manhattan. I prepared for you.
Welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Anissa, and today I'm sitting down with someone who is making waves in the family law. Yes, she is. Lots of great energy. Melissa Glassman. She's an associate at a law firm, Advocate LLP in New York City. And she handles a lot of complicated stuff, family law cases, and just a lot of different dynamics. She's also very much involved with the New York Women's Bar Association, and I've experienced her. She's a fierce networker, and she gets stuff done. And she'll soon to actually I think she'll soon be sworn as a recording secretary. So great success. But today, we're getting to know Melissa beyond her credentials and success in the law. We're getting to know the person behind the title. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Denise. I'm very excited to be here today with you.
Likewise. You have such a great, calming energy about you, but I know there's a force not to reckon with. So let's just dive right in and tell me, what were you into as a little girl that led you to becoming an attorney?
Yes. So when I was 2 years old, my mom divorced my biological father, which I think says a lot about my story and where I am today. We moved in when I was 2 with my maternal grandparents, and so I was kind of raised by my entire family. It takes a village. And my mom and my grandma and are still were very successful businesswomen, and so I was taught from a young age to, be independent and about how important it is, especially as a woman today, to be able to support myself. So even when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a lawyer because I knew it was a good career. My mom's brother, who was one of my father figures growing up, is a lawyer. And so I grew up watching him. He had an office at home before work from home was, something we did. And so I would listen in when he was on calls with clients, and I always looked up to him a great deal. And so that is when I decided that I wanted to become a lawyer. My mom even has artwork. I'm an only child, so my mom has a lot of the artwork I did many years ago. And she has artwork from, I think, second grade hanging in our basement that says, it's a fill in the blank. And it says, I like to, and I wrote in sing. And then it says, I want to be, and I wrote a lawyer. Granted, not spelled correctly, but that is what I wanted at, I think, 7 years old.
Did you say sing? You wanted to sing?
Yes, I loved singing growing up. I did. I loved singing. I used to perform all the time. I'm not shy, as you know. And I grew up taking singing lessons, and then I ended up attending the LaGuardia High School for Performing Arts, which is the Fame School for anyone who knows that movie from the 80s. And so I got a degree in vocal. And then I went right to college and then right to law school with that degree.
That's such an interesting combination, though. So was that more of, well, I guess not a hobby. I mean, you went to school. So how did you make have you felt passionate about both tracks, singing and becoming a lawyer? That's an interesting mix.
Yes. So up until I went to high school, it was a hobby and it was fun, but it was never really a job. It was never something that I had to really commit too much time to. And then when I went to high school, it was a dual curriculum at LaGuardia High School. So not only did I commute from the border of Nassau County and Queens all the way to the Upper West Side of Manhattan, which took an hour and a half, 2 hours each way some days, which was a lot. But I had 3 or 4 classes a day that were music classes. And I still in high school, I loved performing and I loved learning, and I took vocal classes in all different languages and trained in classical. But I never changed my mind about wanting to be a lawyer because, especially when I went to LaGuardia, I realized that I probably was the least talented person that they admitted. And the other individuals that were at the school were truly pursuing it as a career. And so, to pursue a career like that and really be able to support yourself financially was not ever something I thought I could do, and nor did I want to. And so I was lucky that that didn't, that combination didn't come into play for me. And also when I went to high school, it really did become a job. We were tested, we had to sing in front of the class. I think that actually the performing background that I have did prepare me to become a litigator, because I am certainly, as I said, not shy, not afraid to get up in front of a group of people and talk, and give, advocate for a client. So that definitely helped me.
Do you have any visceral reaction going through your body when you get up on a stage or in the courtroom and, all eyes are on you? What's the feeling that you get?
I feel great. It's like a high. I don't know what that would be like, but I imagine it's some kind of outer body experience, especially because I make sure, of course, that I'm familiar with my case and I know what my client's position is and I know the law, and why I'm, taking certain positions, because that's the most important thing. I have to back it up with the law, right? And
Yeah.
so I go in and I'm confident, and you just feel really good, about, taking a position for a client and trying to help them. And so it feels great. I'm never nervous. So it's wonderful.
And I can tell. Yeah, I can tell you're very confident and it comes across very genuine, and yeah, it's not forced. That is a great gift. I'm curious, for an incoming attorney, and you're not a newbie, but you haven't been practicing for 3 decades either. There's just so many challenges in this environment, and coming post-COVID and with the technology, lots of automations, and even the way we connect and network and build our practice. What, how do you look at it now, as far as what does it take in just in your view, what does it take to be a good lawyer in today's environment?
So for me, definitely, I started networking, the word that, students are terrified of, and some lawyers as well, when I was a 1L at Cardozo. So I started right from the beginning, and that made for a much easier transition once I began my career. And so I think it takes a lot of, like I said, not being shy. Sometimes you just need to go up to someone and introduce yourself and get to know them. I think a lot of, I hear a lot from mentees that I have, although I've only been out, I think, 7 years, almost 8 years from law school, but I have some mentees and, of course, many mentors who I am forever grateful. And, I tell my mentees that it's very important not to start networking or meeting people, when you need something from them. You're not networking because you need a job, right? You're networking because you want to meet new people, talk to them about, their fields and how they practice, what their what their experiences are. And then maybe that will help guide you to your career. And so I think that we need to, as young lawyers and law students, step out of our comfort zone, as difficult as it is. And I know networking easier said than done. But I think it's very important to just, try to be open, look for the local bar association events. A lot are, on Zoom these days, as you said. So that is difficult because it's just not the same networking via Zoom. But if you do attend an event via Zoom, see if you can see the list of attendees, which I think often you can, maybe look some of them up, research them, maybe reach out to them. Lawyers, from my experience, I've been very lucky. Everyone is, very happy to give advice to a young lawyer.
That's so true. And many of them have been on the show and said exactly the same thing, is just staying connected, asking questions. They're willing to help. Um, it's interesting with the networking, it doesn't hold true just for the legal field, of course. That's just, I think, across the board. I think humans are afraid to ask questions, and, how would they be perceived? And one way that I look at it, that's just my personal feeling, is that takes the pressure off, is just being curious. And not even overthinking. I know there are gurus and they suggest, they have different tips for small talk. And to me, great icebreakers are always, what are you watching? You guys watching any shows, any travel plans? And I think just rolling with it and just walking into the room with the intention to just staying curious, just noticing. And sometimes you don't even have to say much.
Exactly. And I do also give that advice to mentees that you don't need to go in and go to them with some big, question about an amendment or what's going on, in the news. You can just
Yeah.
talk to them about something. We're all humans,
Yeah.
right? So we're all people, we have families, we have hobbies, we like to travel. There's things you can talk to people about. And I do this today, and I've done it for the past 10 years since I started law school. And even since graduating, when I meet someone, and I know people don't take business cards, but I still try to because I like to have a physical card. Um, After I speak with someone, I'll write on the back of that card something, unrelated to the legal practice that we spoke about. Oh, your daughter is in a dance recital next week or something like that. And then when I reach out to them to say, hi, I just wanted to follow up. It was really nice meeting you. I'll mention, I hope your daughter's dance recital went well, something like that. And then people know they were really, you were really listening to the conversation and,
Goes a long way. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. It's just, it humanizes you. And yeah, we're not commodities, numbers, same thing with your clients. So when you started your career, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you started working with children in crisis, right?
yes. So I worked for the Administration for Children's Services right out of law school. And so when I was there for almost 4 years, I was litigating child abuse and child neglect. So in Manhattan. So in that position, the lawyers, we represented the commissioner of the Administration for Children's Services on behalf of New York. And we would file cases against parents, sometimes, significant others of parents or other people who are in the child's life a significant amount of time. And, it was a tough job. It was very tough. We dealt with a lot of, issues that luckily growing up, I did not really know existed. Excessive corporal punishment, drug use, alcohol use, mental health issues. It was very, very tough, but it made me feel very fulfilled at the end of the day. As difficult and challenging as it was, especially because I started with no, experience practicing law, I learned a lot at that job, and it made me appreciate things, so much more.
That's incredible. I just cannot even imagine. You're stepping into this field and that's what you're dealing with. Yeah, that's incredibly sad reality. But much needed work, much needed work. If you couldn't, well, you shared with me the passion for singing. Do you still sing?
I don't right now. I was very busy with work after law school. And then a few years ago now, I guess 4 years ago, maybe five, when COVID started, I thought maybe I can take virtual singing lessons. So I started virtual singing lessons. I was doing that for a couple of years. And then it just got too difficult because it was, every week on a set night. And I have a lot of women's bar events that I go to. And sometimes work obligations arise. So I haven't done it, but I'm hoping at some point I will be able to implement it into my, schedule.
Do you just sing in the shower, in the car
I
still?
sing, yes, and I drive my friends crazy. No one wants to karaoke with me because, they say I sound good. Compared to other people that I, studied with in high school, they are really talented. A lot of them are, on Broadway and things like that. But compared to my friends, and my mom, who I did not get my voice from, I guess I sound better than they do.
Yeah, I would clear the room. I certainly do not have that gift. Would you care to sing something? Just a little bit?
Oh, I can sing, of course. So this is a song, Thoroughly Modern. It's from Thoroughly Modern Millie. It's called Not for the Life of Me. I studied all the pictures in magazines and books. I memorized the subway map too. It's 1 block north to Macy's and 2 to Brother Brook, Manhattan. I prepared for you.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Goosebumps.
Thank you.
Goosebumps. That, it's first of all, just completely unplanned, impromptu. That was a test right here when you said, "Hey, I'm a performer, I'm feeling good and confident." You sure do. And your voice is incredible.
Thank
That
you.
is
That's
great.
very
Wow.
sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Wow. That's so now I know that you also volunteer. You volunteer for Cancer Research and Diabetes Foundation.
Yes.
What's behind this commitment?
Yes, so another one of my passions is definitely community service and giving back. My mom had a job in corporate philanthropy and still does. And so I learned from a very young age that that is extremely important to give back. I'm very grateful for the life I have. And so I try to give back when I can. So I grew up, building, painting murals in local public schools through my mom's company, or the company my mom works for, planting plants at a local park and things like that. So today, my two big charities are the Sloan Kettering Cycle for Survival Cancer Research that's done once a year, an indoor cycling event. I raise money for that. That is very important to me because my aunt, my mom's brother's wife, passed away from a rare cancer when my cousins, their two sons were 7 and 2, and I was 7 as well. And that was very tough. My uncle lived a couple blocks from where my mom and I lived with my grandparents, and so we were very close. And luckily, as I said, we're very close, so we all came together, and we have a wonderful family. And my cousins are my brothers. And so that will always be a charity that's very important to me, to raising money for rare cancer, which is what my aunt had. I also had a lot of other close people in my family having been diagnosed that have been diagnosed with cancer. One of my stepdad, who is my dad, I call him my dad. He's wonderful. And the best thing that ever happened to me and my mom and his family is wonderful. So a little plug for him. Um, he has had a cousin who passed away a few years ago from a rare breast cancer, and we were very close with her. And a past president of the Women's Bar Association, Amanda Noriko, also passed away from a rare cancer. And so a few years ago, with one of my good friends who is now a judge, Judge Villasenor, she and I asked the New York Women's Bar if we could create a team for the Women's Bar. So we started that. So a lot of reasons that I do that charity. I hope that wasn't too long of an explanation. Um, and then, of course, for all the people who I don't know who are diagnosed, I raise money for them too. And then the second charity I feel strongly about is Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, which has now, I think, been renamed Breakthrough. My best friend from college, her brother has type 1 diabetes. And so ever since I met her, I think more than 15 years ago at this point, she and her family were very involved in this organization. And so I got involved. We've done bike rides. They're supposed to be 100 miles. One year I did 86 miles. After that, I didn't get close to the 86 miles. It's outside, and sometimes the weather is not so friendly. But she and her dad ride 100-mile bike rides. Um, they've been doing it for years. So that's a very important cause to me as well.
Where do they ride?
So there's multiple ride locations all over the country every year. So when I did the 86 miles, it was my first one. And I think that it was adrenaline because I certainly did not train enough to ride 86 miles in one day. I was the last rider to come in. I'm a slow rider, but I made it. That was in Saratoga, New York. It was a beautiful
Wow.
rainy day in Saratoga.
Right.
Winds, and it was awful. And they have ridden in, I think, New Mexico. We did Arizona a couple of years ago. There are rides in California. They're all over the country. So you can do a mini vacation and then you can end it with the ride. And it's a whole 3-day event.
Wow. No, the reason why I'm asking, I have a lot of respect for you. This was, let's see, 15 or so years ago. I got into road biking and I attempted to do that. There are a few charitable rides in Colorado. One was in Aspen, and I think it was like a triple. I called it triple bypass. and it went over like a 3 mountain passes. That was a different than the Aspen one. It went over the Vail Pass and 2 other passes.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, it was about 85 miles. And I mean, I was wrecked after that. I was wrecked for a long time. I had to just pop it in granny gear. I mean, I wanted to get off that bike so badly and just like, mm. And
yeah.
then I thought to myself, all these people, who are going through the struggle and health challenges and fighting for their life. I'm like, get your butt back on that bike and keep pedaling. But that's a challenge. Good for
No,
you.
you're
Wow.
so right. When I've done the bike rides, and sometimes I only have done 30 miles. We did one ride actually in Michigan. I went to college in Michigan, so that was a wonderful ride. My mom joined that one. And there's rest stops, of course, and I see a lot of the riders have, type 1 diabetes, and they're checking their sugar levels and their insulin. And when I see that, I'm like, you know what, I can do it. And back in COVID, the Cycle for Survival, one year we had it in Central Park. It was outside because of COVID. And we did it. It must have been almost 100 degrees that day. It was very hot. But I thought to myself, I'm raising money for people who have, cancer. So I can do this. I can forget
Yeah.
about the heat for a day, and when you put it into perspective, like you said, it really does make a difference. You can get back on the bike, you know,
So you went to University of Michigan for
of
your
Mich
undergrad.
I
Yeah.
did. I am a big fan. Go Blue.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. I know somebody who's a very, 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 very big fan, lifetime fan. What's your favorite memory that
Oh, I
makes you
have
smile?
so many memories from college. Well, I was very lucky in college because my stepdad, my dad's brother and sister-in-law lived there right off the campus. So I saw them a lot. So that was wonderful because I had a piece of home with me. My favorite memory, probably every single football game. We had a lot of fun. We were not very good when I was there at football, for sure. We were not. Now we've been getting better. But my sophomore year, we played, it's the biggest college sports rivalry, University of Michigan and Ohio State University. And we play every year and they switch off. And my sophomore year, it was on our campus. And my parents came in and we went to the game and we won. And that
Wow.
was the best. All the students were rushing to the field, and that was a really cool moment.
I can feel it. Yes, that must have been so intense. And I'm aware of the rivalry actually. Yes.
Yeah,
Very much so. It's very close to home. So yeah, that must have been an incredible game. Wow.
it was. And I go back I think my first year in law school, I think I went back maybe 3 times that fall.
Did you
I went
really?
back a lot. I
Yeah.
miss it and I love it. And I still go back at least once or twice a year.
Wow. I can talk to you all day. This is really, I know we're just scratching the surface. And so and we'll have to have you back. And I say that and I know there's some guests who are just they have so much to share and I feel you do. What would be some parting thoughts?
Some parting thoughts. I would say, um, you know, stay involved. I love being involved. Like I said, I love meeting people like you. I met you, I think, at a women's bar event. And of course, my firm, we talk all the time. And you talk with the other colleagues in my office. So I would say, definitely get out there and meet people at different events, not just for job opportunities, because that is certainly not the ideal time. And, don't be shy. If someone sees this and they want to talk to me for whatever reason, I am always happy to talk to a law student, a young lawyer, anyone. I'm happy to share the limited advice that I can give at this point in my career.
A lot of advice.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of great advice. Melissa, thank you so much. Such a great, great conversation. And I mean, you are a mover and shaker. I mean, I'll be watching you. I mean, this is again, just the beginning. So thank you so much. And not just for what you do, but who you are.
Thank
And I truly, really mean it. And to everyone listening and viewing, thank you for being here with us today on Beyond the Bar podcast. And to find out more about Melissa Glassman and how to get a hold of her, Check out the links below and do not forget to follow us on all social media channels. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.